All right, guys, I'm starting on chapter 16. You're going to have two chapters right on top of each other if you want to be listening to Fablehaven. And with brownie doors, though, who doesn't want to listen to that? Although the dirt near the opening of the brownie hole was crumbly and loose, the ground soon became smooth and firm as the tunnel sloped downward. Near the entrance, Kendra and Seth needed to crouch in some places, but before long the tunnel increased in diameter so they could comfortably walk upright. At first roots poked through the walls and the ceiling, but as they descended deeper, roots became scarce, and the floor of the tunnel leveled out. The dirt felt cool against their bare feet. "I can't see a thing," Seth said. "Your eyes will adjust," Kendra said. "It's dim, but it isn't black." Seth turned around. "I can see a little light looking back, a very little light, but it is pitch black looking forward." "You must be going blind. I can see all the way down the tunnel." "Then you take the lead." Kendra led them deeper into the tunnel. She wasn't sure what Seth was talking about. Sure, it was dim, but there was enough light from the entrance even to reveal the texture of the different stones embedded in the tunnel walls. "Can you still see?" Seth asked. "Haven't your eyes adjusted yet?" "Kendra, it is totally black. No light. I can't see you. I can't see my hand in front of my face. And I can't see any light looking back." Kendra looked over her shoulder. The way back appeared equally as dim as the way around. "You see nothing?" "My night vision is fine, Kendra," Seth said. "I could see pretty well when I went into the grove, and there wasn't much light there. If you can still see, then you can see in the dark." Kendra thought about the overcast night at the pond when she had assumed light was filtering through the clouds. She remembered seeing into the cells in the dungeon that Seth thought were black, and now here she was deep underground, and despite the dwindling twilight outside, no matter how far they walked from the entrance, it had stopped getting dimmer. "I think you're right," Kendra said. "I can still see pretty well. The light hasn't faded for a while." "I wish those fairies had kissed me just a little," Seth said. "Just be glad one of us can see. Come on." The tunnel wound back and forth several times before Kendra came to a stop. "I see a door up ahead." "Does it block the way?" "Yeah." "Well, let's go knock." Kendra started forward. "Just a second," Seth said. "I lost my handkerchief. No peeking. Here it is. Okay, lead the way." A round wall filled the entire tunnel. In the wall was an oval-shaped door, and when they got close, Kendra tried the knob. It was locked, so she knocked. An instant later, the door opened swiftly, and she was looking at a thin man about her same height. He had a long, loose-like ear. He had a long nose, leaf-like ears, and smooth skin like a baby's. He looked Kendra up and down. "Brownies only," he said, closing the door. "What happened?" Seth said. "Could you understand that?" "Brownies only," Kendra translated. A little guy opened the door, said that, and then closed it. She slapped the door. "Please, we need to get into the house. It's an emergency." The door opened a crack. The little man peered out with one eye. "Now, why would you go and learn Rowan when everyone knows that brownies don't talk to strangers?" "Rowan?" Kendra asked. "Don't play coy with me, young lady. I have met a few fairies and nymphs who knew the rudiments of the brownie tongue, but never a miniature human." "I'm Kendra," she said. "I love brownies. You cook wonderful food, and you repaired my grandparents' house after it was ruined." "We all do that," the brownie said humbly. "My brother and I need desperately to get back into the house, and this is the only way. Please will you let us pass?" "This way is meant only for brownies," he said. "I may be the least of your troubles. There are magical barriers in place to prevent others from entering the house through our passage." Kendra glanced at Seth, who was watching the exchange dumbfoundedly. He was like, because she was speaking a totally different language, right? "But we're allowed to enter the house. We're guests there." "Curious way for guests to enter." "My grandparents are the caretakers of Fablehaven. Somebody has sabotaged them, so we're trying to sneak in to help them. We have to hurry. If this potion wears off, we'll clog up your tunnel." "Oh, can't have that," the brownie said thoughtfully. "Very well. Seeing as you're brownie-sized, and seeing as you belong to the house, and seeing that you explained yourself so patiently, I see no harm in letting you pass. On one condition. You both must wear blindfolds. We are about to enter a brownie community, and our secrets are our own." "What's he saying?" Seth said. "He says we have to wear blindfolds." "Tell him to get on with it," Seth said. "What's he saying?" the brownie asked. "He says that he'll wear a blindfold." "Fair enough," the brownie said. "One moment." The brownie closed the door. Kendra and Seth waited. She tried the knob. It was still locked. What is he doing? Seth asked. I don't know, Kendra said. Just as Kendra was beginning to wonder if she had been abandoned, the door opened. 2 blindfolds, the brownie said, and 2 blankets, more your size. I can't abide that fine material dragging in the dirt. What's he saying? Seth said. You brought blindfolds, Kendra relayed. Ask if I have to wear one since I can't see in the first place, Seth asked. Just wear it, Kendra said, and he wants us to switch our handkerchiefs for blankets. Kendra and Seth traded the handkerchiefs for the blankets, making these change in such a way that they remained strategically covered throughout. Then the brownie tied on the blindfolds. I'll be your guide, dear, a female voice said to Kendra. Put your hand on my shoulder. Tell your friend I'll be guiding him, the male brownie said. He's going to guide you, Seth. The brownies led them through the door and along the tunnel. Soon the ground became hard. It felt like polished stone. Even with the blindfold on, Kendra could tell that they had entered a lighted area. The brownies gave occasional instructions like step up or duck your head, which Kendra relayed to Seth. Occasionally she heard murmuring as if their passage was stirring hushed comments from a crowd. After they had walked for some time, the glow faded and the polished floor became dirt once more. The brownies came to a halt. The male brownie removed the blindfolds. They were standing at a door that looked very much like the previous one. Is it dark? Kendra asked. I can't see a thing, Seth said. Just follow this passage, the brownie instructed. It will lead you straight to the dungeon. I suppose you know your way from there. I can't say whether the barriers will impede you. That risk is yours to take. Thank you, Kendra said. Here are your clothes, the female brownie said. She held up a lovely dress and a pair of moccasins, all made from the silk handkerchief that Kendra had given to them. Kendra accepted the dress, and the female brownie handed Seth a shirt, jacket, pants, and slippers fashioned from the same material. Now that is improvising, Kendra said. The clothes look wonderful. Oh, we all do what we do, the female brownie responded with a small curtsy. The brownies held up the blankets in such a way as to allow Kendra and Seth privacy as they put on their clothes. Kendra could not believe how comfortably the dress fit her. Just my size, Seth said, pulling on the slippers. Kendra turned the knob and opened the door. Thanks again, she said. The brownies nodded congenially, so congenially means kindly and happily. Smiling, she and Seth stepped through the door, closed it behind them, and proceeded down the gloomy tunnel. These are the silkiest clothes ever, Seth said. I'm going to use them as my pajamas. Yeah, well, if you drink a shrinking potion every night, Kendra reminded him. Oh, yeah. Eventually, the dirt walls of the tunnel gave way to stone, and the corridor became more square. The air began to smell less earthy and more dank. I think we're getting close, Kendra said. Good, I'm sick of the dark, Seth said. I'm not sure the dungeon will be any brighter, Kendra said. Maybe we'll find a way to reach a light switch, he said. Now we'll see. The corridor ended at an elaborately engraved brass door. I think this is it, Kendra said. She tried the handle, and the door swung open to reveal a room illuminated by trembling firelight. The source of the light was off to the left, along the same wall as the tiny door, so they could not yet see it. I can see, Seth whispered excitedly. I think we must have made it past the barriers, Kendra said. Seth pushed by her and stepped out into the room. Like the walls, the floor was composed of stone mortared together. Seth stared off to the left. Hey, it's the room where they make the... A huge, veiny hand suddenly seized him. The glove he was carrying dropped to the ground as Seth yanked out of sight. Seth! Kendra cried. A second hand shot through the doorway into the tunnel. She tried to dodge the grasping fingers and retreat, but the nimble hand grabbed her without difficulty. The hand pulled Kendra from the tunnel and lifted her high into the air. At her diminished height, the room looked vast. When she saw the large cauldron bubbling over a low fire, she realized it was simply the room where the goblins prepared the glop. In the wavering firelight, Kendra recognized her captor as Slago. Remember Slago and Borscht, and they're the ones that prepare the food for the prisoners, the goblins down at the bottom? Borscht, I got some strays to sweeten the glop, Slago said in a guttural voice. Are you daft? Borscht sneered. No snatching brownies. He sat on a table in the corner, picking his teeth with a knife. I know that, you twit, Slago griped. These aren't brownies. Have a smell. Kendra was trying to pry apart the fingers that were clutching her, but it was no use. They were thicker than her leg and covered in calluses as hard as stone. Slago held her up to Borsch's snout, and they took a couple of sniffs, slit nostrils flaring. Smells like people, Borscht said. Something familiar to the odor. We're Kendra and Seth, Kendra shouted in her squeaky voice. Our grandparents are the caretakers of Fablehaven. It speaks Goblush, Slago said. Think she's an imp, Bush chuckled. You have to help us, Kendra cried. Pipe down, Slago said. You're in no position to issue orders. I remember these two. Ruth brought them through here not long ago. Right you are, Bush agreed. And considering how things have changed. What do you mean how things have changed? Kendra yelled. He means seeing your grandsires are now prisoners in their own dungeon, Slago said. It might be a fine prank to watch them gobble up their own grandkids. You read my mind, Bush gurgled. What are they saying? Seth asked. They're talking about cooking us, Kendra said. And then Grandma and Grandpa are in prison here and they would feed us to them. If you cook us, you'll pay, Seth shouted. You'll be guilty of murder. Grandma and Grandpa won't be in prison forever. This one speaks like people, Slago grunted. Has a point, Bush sighed. You can't cook us, Kendra said. The treaty protects us. All trespassers in our dungeon forfeit all protections, Bush explained. But that Trance might be right about Stan and Ruth, Slago said. Of course, Stan and Ruth don't know they can't rightly punish us, Bush mused. Why don't you set my grandparents free? Kendra proposed. They're the rightful caretakers here. You'll be rewarded. Vanessa freed the imps, Slago croaked. She is master of the situation. Besides, we couldn't spring Stan even if we wanted, Bush said. We have no keys to the cell. So we might as well have a little fun, Slago said, giving Kendra a squeeze that made her ribs creak. If you let us go, we may be able to help my grandparents, Kendra said. Vanessa has no real authority here. My grandparents will be back in charge sooner or later, and when they are, they will reward you greatly for helping us now. Desperate words from cornered prey, Slago said, striding toward the cauldron of roiling gray sludge. Hold, Slago. She might be right, Bush said. Slago hesitated at the cauldron. Hot, foul steam fumed up, washing over Kendra. She glanced over at Seth, who returned a worried look. Slago turned to face Bush. You think? Stan and Ruth have repaid loyalty in the past, Bush said. If we spare their spawn, there may be more reward in it than watching Deron spoil. A goose? Slago asked hopefully. Or better? They could merit much gratitude, and Stan has always dealt with us justly. I'm sure they'd give you huge rewards, Kendra said. You'd say anything at present to save your neck, Slago growled. All the same, my ears agree with Bush. Stan will likely return to power, and he has a history of fair rewards. Slago set Kendra and Seth on the floor. Could you take us to their cell? Kendra asked. Seth looked at her like she was crazy. Wouldn't go over well if the new mistress caught us aiding enemies, Bush said. If you take us to the cell, you can be sure Stan will fully appreciate your involvement, Kendra said. You can always cut and run if somebody comes. That might not hurt, Slago muttered. Can you keep your trap shut as we go? Absolutely, Kendra said. Have you lost it? Seth hissed. This could save us lots of time, Kendra whispered back. You'll deny our involvement if you're caught, Bush said. Of course, Kendra said. Because we could make things very uncomfortable for you if you land us in hot water, Slago snarled. If we get caught, we'll keep you all out of it, Kendra promised. Make sure the other one understands, Bush said. My tongue gets tangled speaking in your vile language. Kendra explained the situation to Seth, who asserted his compliance. Slago stooped and picked them up in one hand. Can you hold us a little looser? Kendra asked. I'll be glad I don't cripple you, Slago said, slightly relaxing his crushing grip. Ask him to grab the glove, Seth said. Could you also get that glove on the floor, Kendra said. We want it when we're big again. Yeah, I understood the other one fine, Slago said. I'll wager I grasp more languages than the two of you together. What good is a glove? He bent down and picked it up. Better than nothing, Kendra replied weakly. Slago shook his head. Be right back, he said to Bush. Don't forget to stir the slop. Don't get discovered, Bush said. Swallow them if it comes to it. Slago grabbed a torch and lit the fireplace. He exited the room and moved swiftly down the hall. When the hall ended, he rounded a corner and continued. They passed the quiet box that Grandma had shown them. Kendra was grateful for each cell they passed because they were progressing towards the front of the dungeon. If she and her brother returned to their normal sizes before they made it to the kitchen, they would be trapped underground, which meant that every second counted. Here we are, Lago said quietly, setting them down from the door. Now keep your word and don't cause any trouble for us. He laid the invisibility glove on the ground beside them. And if things go well, you give credit where credit is due. As the goblin scurried away, taking the torch with him, Kendra and Seth wormed through the slot meant for food trays. Grandma? Grandpa? Kendra called. Is that Kendra? Grandpa Sorensen said. What are you doing here? Not just Kendra, Seth said. We shrunk ourselves. Seth! Grandma Sorensen gasped, her voice trembling with emotion. But how? Coulter woke up just before the Revenant got us, Seth said. He gave me a magical cocoon that wrapped around me. Olak swallowed me like a pill. I went in one end and out the other. Which would have satisfied the spell and bound him, Grandpa said. Oh, what a stroke of good fortune. I can't say how relieved I am. I have many more questions, but little time to ask them. I take it you gained entry through the Brownie doors? I got away with Tanny's potion bag, Henry said. We made ourselves small. Do you know how long it lasts? I can't say, Grandpa said. Clever children, Grandma said. You had better hurry if you hope to enter the house. The spell will not last forever. We want to steal back the artifact key, Seth said. Do they have it? Kendra asked. I'm afraid they do, Grandpa said. I was talking with your grandmother, and she does not recall certain conversations. Before she was revealed, I believe that Vanessa controlled your grandmother to gather information from me. That would explain how she wrote those names in the register. I remember Ruth asking me to confirm where the key to the vault was hidden, as well as to remind her of the combination to access the secret attic. I have no recollection of asking these questions, Grandma said. With that knowledge, Vanessa should already have the key in her possession, Grandpa said. Do they know where the register is? Kendra asked. Can they let more people onto the preserve? I don't believe they know where the register is now hidden, Grandpa said, but they have released at least one of the big imps, a brute who occupied this very cell, the same one who broke my leg. I thought this was the cell with the imp, Kendra said, the one who yelled at me when Grandma showed us the dungeon. That's right, dear, Grandma said. We had 2 other giant imps in confinement, so you can bet she released them as well, Grandpa said. In addition, she probably has help from Christopher Vogel by now, and I could wager that she's still inhabiting Tanu. You kids will need to use extreme caution. Dale and Coulter are down in another cell, Grandma said. Vorse was kind enough to confirm that. The goblins almost cooked us, Seth said. Then Kendra said that they would be rewarded if they helped us. So they did, and I think they want a goose. I'll give them 10 geese if we can get out of this, Grandpa said. Quickly, what is your plan? Well, we're going to go get the artifact key and then free you guys, Seth said. We have Coulter's invisibility glove, so when we get big again, we can be sneaky. At least one of us can, Kendra said. The key to the vault is it's like a staff, Grandpa said. Like 5 feet, Seth asked. More like 6, Grandpa said. It's taller than I am. Vanessa will keep it close. Be on guard. She is most dangerous. Seth, have no illusions. Have no illusions. Whether or not she is inhabiting Tanu, you stand no chance against her in a fair fight. You've seen the dungeon keys? Yes, Kendra said. We used to keep them on a peg by our bed, Grandpa said. She may be keeping them close as well. Depending on how everything plays out, it may be impossible for you to return to us with the dungeon keys. For all but the brownies, there is only one way out of here. So you could easily become trapped down here with us. If worst comes to worst, get the artifact key and flee the preserve. We can hope that the Sphinx will find you. If all else fails, leave the artifact and save yourself, Grandpa said. He turned to Grandma. We had better let them go. By all means. Should the potion wear off before you reach the kitchen, all will be lost. You'll find that the brownies have a staircase all their own, Grandma said. Look for a hole at the base of the stairs. Can you find your way in the dark? Grandpa asked. Kendra can see in the dark, Seth said. I think it's another fairy kind thing, Kendra said. You know the way then? Grandma asked. I think so, Kendra said. Out the door, turn right, then left, then right, then through the doors and up the stairs. Good girl, Grandpa said. Make haste. Kendra and Seth scooted back through the slot in the door. Good luck, Grandma called. We're very proud of you. Recovering the key, next chapter.